The fluorescent lights flickered softly above the counter at Zoomer's 24-hour diner, casting a harsh glow on the empty plastic booths, and the air smelled faintly of grease, coffee, and something oddly floral from the soap Maria had used to clean the countertops. It was the kind of place where truckers, night shift workers, and the occasional lost soul would wander in, seeking solace in a cup of strong coffee and a slice of pie. Now, as closing time loomed, the sounds of sizzling grills and the whirring of the coffee machine were gradually fading out, replaced by an eerie silence that hung in the air like a promise. Maria Santos stood behind the counter, her hands deftly wiping down the last of the dishes. She was used to the late-night rush, to the hurried orders and the clattering of silverware. But tonight was different. Tonight, as she leaned against the counter, a sense of anticipation twisted in her stomach. She'd felt it ever since her last customer had walked through the door. Zektar, the alien with shimmering blue skin and large, luminous eyes, appeared rather unassuming, aside from the fact he was, well, an alien. His features were delicate, almost fragile, and he wore an ensemble that resembled a blend of human and extraterrestrial fashion, with flowing fabrics that glistened in the diner's light. Maria couldn't help but notice the way he shifted nervously in his seat, glancing around as if he were constantly on the lookout for something or someone. "Another cup of coffee?" Maria asked, her voice warm despite the chill of the diner's late-night atmosphere. She poured him a fresh cup, the rich, dark liquid steaming as she placed it in front of him. "Thank you," Zektar replied, his voice smooth yet shaky, a musical lilt that hinted at a different language just beneath the surface. He took a sip, but his gaze drifted back to the window, outside where the neon lights flickered like distant stars. "You're not from around here, are you?" Maria said, wiping her hands on her apron. The diner's clock ticked steadily towards midnight, and she felt the weight of the unusual interaction pressing against her. "No," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm here on urgent business." Maria raised her eyebrows, intrigued. It wasn't uncommon for her to meet peculiar individuals during her late shifts. She had heard tales of love stories, heartbreaks, and even the odd conspiracy theory, but an alien with urgent business sounded like something out of science fiction. "Urgent, huh? What kind of business? You don't look like a space pirate, at least," she joked, trying to lighten the mood. Zektar chuckled, a sound reminiscent of wind chimes. "No, nothing so adventurous. I'm looking for a solution to a misunderstanding that has escalated into a conflict involving my people and another species. It's complicated." Maria leaned in, intrigued. "Complicated how? You can't leave me hanging like this." His gaze darkened, the light in his eyes dimming. "A misunderstanding led to accusations. My son, he was only trying to help. But now, because of it, we face war." "Your son," she repeated, her heart sinking at the gravity of his words. "What happened?" Zektar took a deep breath, his fingers tapping anxiously on the table. "He witnessed an event and thought it was an attack on our colony. He defended ourselves, but miscommunication led to chaos. Now, my people and theirs are preparing to clash. I must find a way to resolve this before it's too late." Maria felt the weight of his words, a sense of urgency wrapping around her like a thick fog. "What do you need?" "Maybe I can help," she said, surprising even herself. It was just a late shift at a diner, but in that moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. She had always considered herself resilient and resourceful, but now, she was ready to put those qualities to the test. Zektar studied her, a flicker of hope crossing his face. "You would help? A human? Why not? I mean, you've already got a one-way ticket to conflict just because of a misunderstanding. If there's anything I've learned from working here, it's that people don't communicate properly half the time. Maybe I can help you figure this out." He nodded slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing just a little. "I can share the details, but it requires trust. Trusting you, and in the human way of interaction. I'm not familiar with it." "Trust?" Maria chuckled wryly. "That's rich coming from you, a green-skinned, cosmic traveler. But if it helps, I guess I can work with that." And just like that, as the diner clock ticked past midnight, an unlikely alliance began to form between the bartender and the alien father. Zektar recounted the last few days with rapid urgency, his words blending with the clanking of utensils and the humming of neon signs outside. Maria found herself captivated, pulled deeper into his story, her determination solidifying with every sentence he spoke. As he laid out the details of the misunderstanding, Maria couldn't shake off the feeling that this was only the beginning. She had a sense, deep in her instincts, that the troubles Zektar faced weren't just confined to the distant worlds. They were reflections of her own struggles, the misunderstandings that often led to conflict in her own life, be it with her family or in her relentless pursuit of a better future. She glanced at Zektar, whose luminous eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and desperation, and felt a burgeoning sense of connection. Here they were, two beings from vastly different worlds, seeking clarity in a haze of chaos. As the last customer in the diner, Maria realized she was holding the line, standing firm against the approaching storm of misunderstandings that loomed on the horizon. As Zektar finished his account, a silence enveloped them, filled with unspoken questions and possibilities. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: their fates were intertwined in a way neither of them had anticipated. The clock continued to tick, and though the diner was closing, a new chapter was just beginning. As Maria leaned closer, Zektar's face softened with a mixture of relief and trepidation. "You have no idea how much that means to me," he began, his fingers curling around the fragile ceramic of his coffee cup. "This misunderstanding, it's rooted in our dietary customs. My son was merely trying to prepare a meal for some visitors from another species, but it all blew up in our faces." Maria nodded, encouraging him to elaborate. The cafe's hum of appliances created a comforting backdrop as she sensed the urgency in Zektar's voice. "You see," he continued, "in our culture, food is not just sustenance, it is a form of communication. We express emotions, intentions, everything through the meal we prepare. But my son used ingredients that are considered offensive to the other species." "What kind of ingredients?" Maria asked, her curiosity piqued. "An animal native to our planet, one that is revered as sacred." The visitors, however, saw it as an act of war. They believed we were mocking them by serving it at a time when peace talks were underway. It escalated so quickly. There were accusations, retaliatory threats, and now, we are on the brink of conflict. Maria's heart raced as she processed this information. "So, your son thought he was doing something good, but it backfired?" "Yes. He wanted to impress, to be a bridge between our worlds," Zektar sighed, his luminous eyes dimming. "But now, he is viewed as a criminal rather than a peacekeeper, and I fear for his life. If we don't find a way to mend this rift soon, war will erupt." The gravity of the situation settled like a heavy blanket over Maria. The diner's familiar smells and sounds faded as she pondered the implications of Zektar's words. "What can we do?" she whispered, feeling an unexpected swell of determination rise within her. Zektar's gaze sharpened, a flicker of hope igniting in his expression. "Perhaps we can find common ground through food itself. We can create a meal that honors both cultures, a dish that symbolizes peace, rather than conflict. But I need your help. I can't navigate this alone." Maria's mind raced with possibilities. "What do you mean? Do you want to cook together?" "Yes. I can show you our traditional foods, and perhaps you could teach me about yours. We can create something that speaks to both our peoples." "All right," Maria said, a spark of excitement bubbling within her. "What do we need to make this work?" Zektar smiled, and in that moment, Maria felt something shift between them, an unspoken connection forged in the urgency of the task at hand. "We will need ingredients that both species can accept. I'll gather items from my supplies, but I need your guidance on the human side. Perhaps something simple, yet meaningful?" "Okay," she replied, already recalling the ingredients she had on hand in the diner's kitchen. "How about a fusion dish? Something that combines flavors from both our worlds. We can use your sacred animal as a base but prepare it in a way that respects the other species' sensibilities." Zektar nodded vigorously, his excitement palpable. "That could work. We could use your spices and cooking techniques to adapt the dish. But I must warn you, some of our flavors might be unexpected for human palates." Maria chuckled softly, her heartbeat steadying. "I'm up for the challenge. Let's make something that will show them our intentions are peaceful." As they brainstormed, a sense of camaraderie blossomed between them, the weight of the impending conflict momentarily lifted. They discussed flavor profiles, cooking methods, and the emotional significance behind food in their respective cultures. Zektar shared stories of his people's culinary traditions, each tale infused with a sense of pride and nostalgia. Maria, in turn, recounted her own family recipes, the heartwarming memories tied to each dish. Suddenly, the diner's door swung open, and a gust of cold air rushed in, cutting through their focused conversation. Maria turned to see a group of hooded figures enter, their movements tense and purposeful. "Zektar," she whispered, her heart racing, "we need to hide. Now." He glanced at her, confusion flickering across his features. "Who are they?" "Not sure, but they don't look friendly." As the figures advanced, their faces became visible, revealing a mix of human and alien features that sent a chill down Maria's spine. They were part of the species that had been offended by Zektar's son. "Zektar," one of them shouted, his voice laced with indignation, "you can't hide here forever. We demand justice for our people." Maria's instincts kicked in, and she quickly pulled Zektar down behind the counter. "Stay low," she hissed, her pulse pounding in her ears. She could feel the tension thickening in the air as the group began to search the diner. The din of their voices melded with the whir of the coffee machine, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Maria's mind raced as she contemplated her next move. "Zektar, do you have a way to communicate with them?" she whispered urgently. "Maybe we can turn this around." He nodded, his eyes scanning the group as they moved toward the kitchen. I could try, but I need to be careful. They might not listen to reason. Maybe if they see you're not a threat, they'll back down, she suggested, her brain whirring with ideas. We can show them what we're working on together. It could be a way to demonstrate our goodwill. Zektar hesitated but then took a deep breath, determination etched on his features. You're right, I have to try. As the figures approached closer, Maria reached for a nearby tray, her heart racing. Let's do this together. I'll distract them while you talk. With a nod, Zektar prepared himself, and Maria took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The stakes had never been higher, and the outcome uncertain, but in that moment, she felt a connection to Zektar that transcended their differences. They were fighting for more than just a meal, they were fighting for peace between their worlds. Hey! Maria called out, her voice cutting through the tension as she stood tall, ready to face the confrontation head-on. You want to talk? Let's talk! As the group turned their attention to her, Zektar quietly prepared to step into the light of the truth they both hoped could save their worlds. As the diner door swung closed, Maria felt the weight of the world pressing down on them once more. The urgency of the moment sparked an idea that danced on the edge of absurdity in her mind. Zektar, she began, her tone shifting to one of determination. What if we organized a food tasting event? A gathering where we can showcase dishes from both our cultures? It might help foster understanding and goodwill. Zektar tilted his head, the luminous colors of his skin shifting in shades of deep blue and radiant violet. A tasting event, he repeated, the concept clearly taking root in his mind. That is, unconventional. But how could it possibly mend the rift between our peoples? Maria leaned forward, her excitement bubbling over. Think about it. We could invite representatives from both sides. They could sample the dishes, learn about each other's cultures through food. It's a way to break bread, or whatever alien equivalent you have, to create connections instead of divisions. If we can showcase our intentions through a shared meal, it might just turn the tide. For a moment, silence enveloped them as Zektar considered her idea. Maria could see the flicker of hope in his eyes, but she also sensed the weight of doubt. Our traditional methods have failed, Maria, he finally said, his voice laced with a mixture of hope and apprehension. We have attempted to resolve this through formal negotiations, but the emotions involved are too volatile. Your idea, it may be radical, yet it is intriguing. Her heart raced. Exactly. It's time to step outside the box. We need something fresh, something that speaks to both cultures in a way that formal discussions cannot. Cooking together, sharing stories, it creates bonds. Plus, the food can be a symbol of collaboration. Zektar's eyes brightened, his posture shifting as he leaned closer. What would we need to make this happen? I can gather ingredients from my supplies. His eagerness was infectious, and Maria felt a surge of excitement at the prospect of working together. We'll need a venue and an invitation list, she replied, her mind racing ahead. I can get the diner ready. It's small, but it's cozy, and I know it well. As for the guests, we should reach out to leaders from both sides, anyone who might be swayed by the power of food. We could show them how similar we are. Zektar nodded, the anxiety on his face giving way to determination. It is settled then. We will host a tasting event. But I must warn you, the ingredients I can provide may not be familiar to you. Some are unconventional. Bring it on, Maria grinned, her confidence growing. I'm all for experimentation. We can adapt anything to make it work. Zektar's gaze softened, a flicker of admiration crossing his features. You possess a remarkable spirit, Maria. It is refreshing. She felt a blush creep into her cheeks, but before she could respond, a thought struck her. What about your son? He should be involved in this too. He was trying to do something good, after all. It might help him regain some respect. Zektar paused, his expression shifting from determination to concern. He is afraid to show his face. The backlash against him has been severe. But perhaps, if he sees that we are working toward peace, he will feel encouraged to participate. Let's reach out to him then, Maria suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. If he sees that we're serious about making amends, he might be willing to help. This could be a way for him to rebuild bridges. Zektar took a deep breath, seeming to gather strength from her words. You are right. I will speak with him. I believe he will be curious about this initiative. Great. So, let's get to work. Maria's pulse quickened as she thought about all the preparations they needed to do. We can start by listing the dishes we want to feature. I have a few ideas already in mind. Zektar smiled, and for a moment, they were both lost in the excitement of their plan. What can you prepare that would symbolize your culture? Maria leaned back, crossing her arms as she considered. How about a classic American burger? It's simple, but it has so much potential. We could use your ingredients to create a unique twist on it. Maybe add some alien spices? Zektar's eyes widened, and he nodded. I believe that could work. And I can contribute a dish that represents my people's ideals, something that embodies our respect for nature. Perhaps a stew, rich with flavors that tell stories of our land. Perfect! Maria exclaimed, her mind racing with the possibility of blending their culinary worlds. We can showcase how both our cultures value nourishment and connection through these dishes. Indeed, Zektar agreed, the excitement palpable between them. It may also serve to educate both parties on the significance of food in our societies. As they brainstormed dish ideas, the diner's ambience shifted. The comforting hum of the appliances felt like a backdrop to their budding partnership, a space where two very different worlds could collide and create something beautiful. Maria felt her confidence swell. She was no longer just a waitress in a diner. She was a bridge between worlds, a leader in a movement that could change the course of interspecies relations. After digging deep into their respective culinary traditions, Maria looked at Zektar, her eyes sparkling with determination. Let's do this, but we need to work quickly. The tensions are rising, and we can't waste time. Zektar nodded, the flicker of anxiety still evident in his expression. I will gather my supplies right away, but we must also ensure that the invitations are sent out soon to allow for ample preparation. Absolutely. I'll handle that, Maria said, her voice steady. By tomorrow, we should have a plan in motion. As they prepared to leave the diner, a sense of urgency and hope ignited between them, a shared mission that felt monumental. The challenges ahead were great, but Maria felt ready to face them head-on. Together, they would create a meal that could not only heal wounds but also foster new beginnings. With the weight of their cultures resting on their shoulders, Maria and Zektar stepped out into the night, determined to change the fate of their peoples through the universal language of food. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm golden hues across the diner's windows, Maria and Zektar bustled about the small space, preparing for the anticipated food-tasting event. The air buzzed with excitement and nervous energy as they set up tables draped in vibrant cloths, a mix of human and alien designs. Maria had chosen to decorate with a simple elegance, adding a few wildflowers to each table, hoping the familiar touch would ease any tension that might linger. Do you think they will like the food? Maria asked, glancing at Zektar as he arranged an assortment of alien ingredients on a central table. The vivid colors of the dishes were mesmerizing, ranging from deep greens to radiant purples, each with textures that seemed to shimmer under the diner's fluorescent lights. Zektar paused, his eyes scanning the dishes thoughtfully. The presentation is intriguing, he replied, his voice measured. But taste is subjective. I have seen beings recoil at what we consider delicacies. Maria nodded, trying to suppress a wave of anxiety. Well, we'll just have to make everything appealing. Perhaps we should start with some familiar human dishes before introducing the more unique offerings? An excellent strategy, Zektar agreed, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Your people tend to be cautious about trying new things. Perhaps a simple tomato salad first? Yeah, that's a crowd pleaser. And maybe some garlic bread? She quickly jotted down ideas, her excitement returning. Time slipped away as they finalized the menu, and soon the diner was filled with the sounds of laughter and chatter, mingling with the aroma of sizzling food. Maria stood at the entrance, welcoming the attendees with a bright smile. The first guests were a mix of humans and aliens, their faces a kaleidoscope of expressions ranging from curious to skeptical. As the room filled, Maria noticed Zektar's son, Nex, hovering near the back of the group. His demeanor was tense, his gaze darting between the humans and the alien leaders, clearly apprehensive. It tugged at Maria's heart. She remembered the fear Zektar had shared about the backlash Nex faced. She wished she could help him feel at ease. Hey, why don't you help me with the drinks? She called out to Nex, motioning him over. It'll be a great way to get involved without too much pressure. He hesitated, then slowly approached, his expression softening slightly. Sure, he mumbled, taking a few glasses from her. What are we serving? Human lemonade and some alien fruit juice, Maria explained, pouring the vibrant green liquid from a jug into the glasses. Let's just focus on getting everyone settled for now. As the tasting began, Maria welcomed attendees to sample the dishes. The initial response was tentative. Humans sniffed at the unfamiliar scents, while the aliens eyed the traditional human fare with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Is this dish cooked? One of the aliens, a tall, slender being with glistening skin, asked, peering closely at the garlic bread. Yep, Maria beamed, trying to convey enthusiasm. I promise it's delicious. If you like garlic, you'll love it. The alien took a cautious bite. For a moment, silence enveloped the room, every eye focused on the creature. Suddenly, its eyes widened, and it began to nod vigorously. Delicious. It is a burst of flavor. Cheers erupted from the humans, and Maria felt a rush of relief. Perhaps this tasting event would be more successful than she had anticipated. However, as the night progressed, chaos began to unfold. The sushi rolls made from Zektar's unique ingredients were met with bewilderment.
A trio of alien dignitaries stared at the dishes, their antennae twitching in confusion.
One of them poked a roll with a slender finger, recoiling when it wobbled slightly in response.
"Why does it move?" another alien asked, its voice tinged with alarm.
The tension in the room escalated, and Maria could feel a knot tightening in her stomach.
"It's just the texture. It's a traditional human dish,"
Maria insisted, stepping forward with a tray of rolls.
"I assure you it's safe to eat." But her voice faltered as she noticed a group of humans backing away, visibly uneasy.
Zektar moved beside her, sensing the rising panic. "Perhaps we should explain the purpose of the event," he suggested, his tone firm but calm. "To foster understanding between our species, we must communicate openly." Maria nodded, her heart racing.
"Let's gather everyone's attention."
Zektar cleared his throat, and his voice echoed through the diner. "Esteemed guests, we are here to share what makes us unique and to find common ground. Every dish on this table represents a part of our culture. We hope to bridge the gap between our peoples through these flavors." As he spoke, Maria took a deep breath, her gaze darting around the room. Some of the aliens were nodding, their expressions softening as they listened. She felt a surge of hope, but the tension still hung thick in the air. Zektar continued, "If we can appreciate each other's traditions, it will lead to greater understanding. Please, allow yourselves to experience the joy of our culinary diversity." Maria stepped back, her heart swelling with admiration for Zektar. She had felt the weight of the moment on her shoulders, but as she watched the guests begin to chatter again, she knew that they were starting to connect.
"Let's serve some of those spicy meatballs next," Maria suggested, trying to reinvigorate the mood. "They might just be the fusion we need."
As they served the next dish, a lively debate broke out among the guests about the flavors and textures. Laughter filled the diner, and for the first time, Maria felt the tension lift. Zektar's presence provided a soothing anchor, and she could see his son, Nex, engaging with a few curious humans, the lines of anxiety on his forehead slowly unfurling.
"See,
we're making progress," Maria whispered to Zektar, her eyes sparkling with newfound determination.
"We just need to keep the momentum going."
"Yes," Zektar replied, his expression filled with warmth, "but we must also remain aware of our differences.
Understanding is a two-way street."
As they moved forward in the event, the laughter and shared stories began to weave a fabric of unity. The initial chaos transformed into an opportunity for connection, and Maria realized that this night would not only be a tasting event, it would be a stepping stone toward a deeper understanding between their worlds. As the tension in the diner escalated, Maria felt the weight of the unspoken fears that lingered in the air. She glanced at Zektar, who stood beside her, his posture rigid as he surveyed the room filled with apprehensive faces. The humans whispered among themselves, their brows furrowed, while the aliens exchanged glances that spoke volumes of their confusion. "Zektar," Maria murmured, leaning closer to him, "we need to address this before it spirals out of control." He nodded, his expression shifting from concern to determination. "I will attempt to explain, but you must assist me in bridging the gap between our cultures. Your people have a unique way of connecting that my kind often overlooks." She could feel the sincerity in his words, and it ignited a spark of hope within her.
"Let's bring everyone together. I'll speak to the humans, and you can address the aliens. We need to create a dialogue." With a deep breath, Maria stepped forward, raising her hands to get everyone's attention. "Everyone, please. I understand there's some confusion regarding the food we've prepared tonight. Let's take a moment to discuss this."
The chatter died down, and all eyes turned towards her. Zektar followed her lead, stepping beside her as he spoke. "The dishes you see before you are a fusion of our cultures. At times, we may not understand each other's customs, but that is where the beauty lies, in learning and appreciating what makes us different." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Maria noted that some of the aliens were still eyeing the sushi, their antennae twitching as they processed Zektar's words. She pressed on, keeping her tone light and encouraging. "I know some of our food may seem unusual, but it's important to remember that taste is subjective. Just as you might find some of our dishes perplexing, we too have had our fair share of surprises." A tall alien, his skin a luminous shade of green, stepped forward. "Why does it move?" he asked again, pointing at the sushi with an expression that mixed curiosity and wariness. Maria glanced at Zektar, who nodded for her to continue.
"That's actually a traditional human dish called sushi.
It's made with raw fish, which is sometimes served fresh and can appear to wiggle a bit if it's not cooked.
But let me assure you, it's safe to eat."
The alien's eyes widened, and Maria could see the wheels turning in his mind. "Fresh," he echoed, intrigued yet still hesitant.
"Why would anyone consume something uncooked?" "Because it's packed with flavor and can be quite delicious." Maria smiled, trying to convey her enthusiasm. "Just like how certain alien dishes might be considered delicacies in your culture, our fresh fish is celebrated in ours." "Perhaps it's a matter of perspective?"
Zektar chimed in, "Your words reflect a profound understanding of our nature, Maria.
We often place rigid definitions on what is acceptable without considering the context.
As the conversation unfolded, Maria noticed Nick standing quietly at the edge of the gathering, his expression a mixture of hope and anxiety. She gestured for him to join them.
Next, why don't you share your thoughts?
You've experienced both cultures firsthand.
With a hesitant step, Nex approached.
I've tried the sushi, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. At first, I was scared, but when I tasted it, his eyes brightened.
It was really good. I think if everyone gave it a chance, they might like it too.
The crowd's attention shifted to him, intrigue replacing some of the initial skepticism. Maria felt a wave of warmth wash over her. Nex's vulnerability sparked a connection.
See?
Just like Nex, we can all have our preferences and fears, but trying new things can bring us closer together. A few humans began to nod, glancing at each other as they processed Nex's words. One brave soul stepped forward, a middle-aged man with a warm smile.
I'm willing to try it. If Nex says it's good, I'll take my chances.
Encouraged by his bravery, others began to express interest as well. I'll try it too, another human called out, stepping forward alongside the alien dignitaries, who exchanged glances of surprise. The atmosphere in the diner began to shift. Maria could feel the tension dissipate as laughter and conversation replaced the earlier apprehension. All right then, let's turn this into a tasting challenge, she exclaimed.
We'll pair our human dishes with your alien specialties. A little culinary adventure.
Zektar's gaze met hers, and in that moment, she could see a newfound respect in his eyes. Your intuition is invaluable, Maria. Together, we can foster an understanding beyond food. The two of them began to collaborate, encouraging the guests to mix and match dishes. The humans tried the sushi alongside their garlic bread, while the aliens sampled the tomato salad before venturing back to the more unconventional offerings. As the flavors mingled and the laughter grew louder, Maria felt a sense of accomplishment swell within her. She glanced over at Zektar, who was animatedly discussing the intricacies of alien agriculture with a group of intrigued humans. In that moment, she realized how far they had come. She had not only facilitated a food tasting but had also bridged a gap between two worlds in ways she never would have imagined. But a nagging thought lingered in the back of her mind. The misunderstanding that had initially sparked this gathering ran deeper than just food preferences. It was rooted in cultural beliefs, and she feared that the night's success might be fleeting. Just as she was about to voice her concerns to Zektar, a sudden commotion at the entrance of the diner caught her attention. A group of disgruntled aliens entered, their expressions dark with displeasure. They surveyed the scene with narrowed eyes, their antennae twitching in agitation. A chill ran down Maria's spine. This was not the kind of interruption she had hoped for. She could sense the shift in energy in the room, and her heart raced as she caught Zektar's worried glance. Stay close, he whispered, his voice low. I fear we may have some unexpected challenges ahead. With a sense of dread settling in her stomach, Maria steeled herself for what lay ahead. The night was far from over, and they were about to face an even greater test of unity and understanding. Maria felt a surge of determination as she faced the crowd, the weight of anticipation pressing down on her like a physical force. She could sense the collective heartbeat of the diner, a throbbing rhythm of uncertainty. Zektar stood resolutely beside her, his presence solidifying her resolve. This was a moment meant to bridge the chasm between their worlds, and she was ready to take the plunge. Let's try something together, Maria proposed, her voice steady. Why don't we start by tasting each other's creations? After all, we've put a lot of effort into this event. A wave of murmurs coursed through the crowd. Zektar took a step forward, raising his voice to add weight to Maria's words. Your willingness to experience our customs is commendable. Let us share this moment of culinary discovery. With a nod of encouragement from Maria, Zektar gestured toward a platter of sushi. Please, I invite you to taste this. It symbolizes the fusion of our two cultures, where differences can lead to understanding rather than division. The tall green alien who had questioned the sushi earlier stepped up hesitantly, his gaze flickering between the dish and Zektar. Fresh? What does that mean? He asked, his voice carrying a hint of anxiety. It means alive with flavor, Zektar replied, an unexpected enthusiasm brightening his tone. Just as you would enjoy fresh fruit or vegetables, this is about savoring the essence of what the sea offers us. It's not merely about the act of eating but about embracing the experience. The crowd remained silent, processing his words. It was a pivotal moment. Maria could see the humans exchanging glances, some nodding in understanding, while others remained skeptical. Let's give it a shot, called out the middle-aged man from earlier, his smile reassuring. He reached out and picked up a piece of sushi, raising it as if proposing a toast to new experiences. Encouraged by his bravado, a wave of hands reached for the sushi platter. Maria's heart raced as she watched them take their first bites. The initial moments were filled with quiet chewing and contemplative expressions.
Then came the reaction, eyes widening, eyebrows raising.
It's actually good," exclaimed the man, a gleam of surprise dancing in his expression. Others began to nod in agreement, their skepticism giving way to curiosity.
As the humans shared their impressions, Maria turned her attention to the aliens.
Zektar stood tall, his posture more relaxed now, a sense of pride radiating from him. "And for you, we have a delicacy from our home," he said, presenting a plate of glimmering, gelatinous orbs that reflected the diner's lights in a rainbow of colors.
These are called grix, often celebrated for their texture and flavor. Allow me to demonstrate how they're enjoyed.
He picked one up, expertly maneuvering it between his fingers before popping it into his mouth.
The crowd collectively leaned in, a mix of intrigue and apprehension swirling in the air.
"Just as you have explored our food, we too aim to understand yours," Zektar continued, his voice steady. "It's not solely about sustenance but the shared experience that brings connection."
One of the aliens, a woman with shimmering blue skin, took a step forward.
"I will try," she said, her voice firm. She reached for a grix and took a tentative bite. The moment it touched her tongue, her eyes lit up in astonishment.
"It's incredible." With each passing moment, the atmosphere in the diner began to shift.
Laughter bubbled up, conversations sparked, and what had initially felt like a volatile confrontation transformed into a vibrant exchange of flavors and ideas.
Maria watched as Zektar and the aliens engaged with the humans, their barriers crumbling amidst bites and shared laughter.
Her heart swelled as she witnessed a breakthrough, a glimpse of the unity they had hoped for. This was more than just a tasting, it was a collaborative effort that showcased their cultures, turning fear into fascination. But just as the tension began to dissipate, a shadow loomed at the door.
A group of imposing aliens entered, their features sharp and their movements deliberate.
Maria's stomach dropped as she recognized the distinctive markings on their uniforms. They were members of the Council of Species, a faction known for their rigid adherence to tradition and their disdain for any deviation from the norm.
"Zektar," one of them barked, his voice cutting through the din of lively chatter. "What is the meaning of this? You've disregarded our customs."
Zektar's expression hardened as he turned to face them. "This is a moment of cultural exchange," he replied, his tone unwavering.
"These humans have opened their doors to us, and we must honor that."
The leader of the council stepped closer, his gaze narrowing.
"You think you can befriend the enemy? They are beneath us, Zektar. Their ways are primitive."
Maria felt a chill race down her spine as she saw Zektar's confidence waver, the tension crackling back to life in an instant. The diners fell silent, the laughter snuffed out like a candle in the wind.
"Tell them to leave," another council member urged, gesturing angrily at the humans. "They do not belong in our presence." "No," Zektar's voice rang out, stronger than before. "This is about understanding, about collaboration.
We must not allow fear to dictate our actions."
The council members exchanged glances, their expressions betraying their disbelief.
Maria could feel the air thicken with tension, the fragile harmony they had built threatened by the rigidity of the council's beliefs.
"Zektar, think about what you are doing," the leader warned, his voice low and menacing.
"You risk everything for a fleeting moment of acceptance."
Maria stepped forward, heart pounding.
"Please, we are not enemies.
We can learn from each other, and together we can create something extraordinary."
She locked eyes with Zektar, silently urging him to stand firm. The room was a cauldron of emotions, anxiety, hope, and a hint of defiance.
Zektar took a deep breath, his resolve strengthening with each heartbeat.
"I will not back down," he declared, his voice resonating with an unwavering conviction.
"This moment is too important.
We are not just our customs, we are capable of growth and understanding." The council members faltered, their expressions shifting from anger to confusion. Maria sensed a crack forming in their armor, a flicker of doubt that she desperately hoped would expand. "Let us eat together," Zektar proposed, gesturing to the tables filled with food.
"Let us share this moment, not as enemies but as partners seeking harmony."
As the tension hung palpably in the air, Maria felt the connection they had forged start to waver again. This was a pivotal moment, and both sides were teetering on the edge of acceptance or conflict. She caught Zektar's gaze, and in that instant, she realized that their fates relied on their ability to embrace vulnerability.
Would the council relent, or would old prejudices reignite the flames of discord?
The stakes had never been higher, and Maria could only hope that the bonds they had begun to forge would withstand the pressures of tradition and fear. Maria felt the atmosphere shatter like glass the moment the door swung open again, a gust of wind swirling the sense of the diner as a new faction of aliens strode in. This group, with their sleek armor and sharp features, exuded an air of authority and danger that sent a chill coursing through the diner. Zektar's posture stiffened beside her, she could feel the tension radiating off him like static electricity.
"Zektar," one of the newcomers barked, his voice echoing through the diner like a thunderclap. "You dare to collaborate with these humans? Have you lost all sense of honor?"
Maria's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Zektar. This was not just an uninvited critique, this was a challenge. She could see the fear flickering in Zektar's large, expressive eyes.
It's not just about food, Maria whispered urgently, it's about understanding.
Zektar took a step forward, his voice strong yet tinged with uncertainty.
I am not merely collaborating, Vector.
I am bridging our cultures.
Food is the language of connection. We can learn from one another.
Vector's eyes narrowed, his expression a mix of disdain and disbelief.
You compromise our values, Zektar.
The Council will not allow you to weaken our traditions. If you continue this path, you risk your place among us and your children will suffer the consequences. The words landed like a punch in Maria's gut. She could see the flicker of fear turning into something deeper in Zektar's gaze, something that told her this was more than just a culinary event. The stakes were personal.
You can't let them intimidate you, she urged softly, reaching out to place her hand on his arm. We've come too far.
But Zektar's shoulders slumped slightly as he processed Vector's threat.
You don't understand, Maria. My position as a father is at stake.
If I fail to uphold the honor of our species, he let the words hang, a heavy weight that pulled the air from the room. She felt her heart clench.
What if we show them how we can work together? If we can prove that collaboration strengthens us, maybe they'll see.
Vector scoffed, but Maria could see a flicker of interest in the eyes of the other aliens as they observed the growing tension.
It's too late for that. You've already tarnished your name, Zektar.
No, Maria interjected, her voice rising as she stepped between Zektar and Vector. You don't get to dictate how we define ourselves.
Food is about connection. Let's show them what we've created together.
A tasting isn't just about flavors, it's about the stories we share and the understanding we foster. Vector crossed his arms, a sardonic smile creeping onto his face.
And you think these petty dishes can forge a bond strong enough to alter our traditions?
You misunderstand the depth of our culture. The tension in the diner was palpable. Whispers rippled through the crowd as Maria stood her ground. We can change that perception.
Let's not just present food, let's present our cultures. Show them what we can do together. Her eyes sparkled with determination, an unwavering beacon against the tide of hostility.
Zektar looked at her, his fear slowly being replaced by a spark of hope.
You're suggesting a challenge?
Exactly. If we can create something that combines both our cultures, something that highlights our strengths, perhaps it can shift their perspective. The words tumbled out, driven by the urgency of the moment.
Let's cook together.
Prepare the dishes that represent our worlds.
If we can impress them, we can redefine what collaboration means.
Vector raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite himself.
You believe a mere meal can sway our views? What kind of dish could possibly embody such a union?
Maria felt a rush of adrenaline.
Let's do a fusion. We can use traditional human ingredients to complement your Grix.
She glanced at Zektar, who was nodding slowly.
And in return, we'll incorporate those flavors into our signature dishes.
It's the perfect way to display our strengths together.
The crowd began to murmur again, curiosity replacing the earlier tension. Zektar's expression shifted from uncertainty to determination. Yes, let us create something new.
Something that transcends our differences. Vector hesitated, the challenge igniting a flicker of intrigue within him.
Very well.
But know this, if you fail, it will not just be your honor at stake. You will face the Council's judgment.
Are you prepared for that?
Maria met Vector's gaze with unwavering resolve.
We are prepared to redefine what it means to collaborate. We will show you that we are stronger together.
As the two factions prepared to cook, Zektar and Maria exchanged glances filled with an unspoken understanding. They stepped into the diner's kitchen, the once familiar space now transformed into a battleground of culinary creativity. Maria felt a wave of exhilaration wash over her. They were on the precipice of something monumental. They gathered ingredients from both their worlds, the vibrant colors mixing together as laughter and chatter filled the air. Zektar's hands moved deftly as he prepared the Grix, while Maria chopped fresh vegetables, their contrasting styles creating an unexpected harmony. As they cooked, Maria felt the barriers between them begin to dissolve. Every slice, every stir, was imbued with a shared purpose.
The once foreboding atmosphere was replaced by a sense of camaraderie.
Even the skeptical aliens began to inch closer, their curiosity piqued by the sizzling sounds and enticing aromas wafting from the kitchen. With each passing moment, Maria felt their resolve strengthen. They weren't just cooking, they were crafting a bridge, one that could lead to understanding and collaboration. This moment would be the climax of their hopes, a testament to the power of unity in overcoming fear and uncertainty. As they plated the final dishes, Maria took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. She turned to Zektar, whose gaze mirrored her excitement and determination. No matter what happens, we've shown them the power of coming together, right? Zektar nodded, a gentle smile curving his lips.
Yes, Maria.
And together, we will share our stories. They prepared to present their culinary creations to the crowd, ready to show not just the flavors of their cultures but the spirit of collaboration that had blossomed between them.
This was the moment they'd been fighting for, the moment that could change everything.
Maria steadied herself as the tension crackled between the two factions. She could feel Zektar's anxiety radiating off him, a palpable current that intertwined with her own determination. "We'll show them," she murmured, glancing back at the rivals, who were sizing her up like a new species in a zoo.
"We can do this." With a deep breath, Zektar nodded, his resolve strengthening.
"If we can create something that represents both our cultures," he said, his voice steadying, "we might just open their eyes."
Vector crossed his arms tighter, still skeptical. "And what makes you think your primitive techniques can resonate with our traditions? Cooking is an art that requires skill and respect for our heritage."
Maria stepped forward, her heart pounding.
"Then let's not just cook," she insisted. "Let's tell a story. Each dish can represent a part of who we are.
We can combine Grixth and our human flavors in a way that honors both cultures." At this, a ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd.
Many aliens looked intrigued while others exchanged doubtful glances.
Vector, however, remained unmoved. "A story, you say? What story could your simple dishes possibly tell?" Zektar took a bold step forward, his stature growing in the face of opposition.
"What if we create a dish that represents unity?
One that showcases the strength of our differences coming together."
"It's not just about the food, it's about the ideas behind it."
Maria's heart fluttered at Zektar's newfound confidence. It was a side of him she hadn't seen before, the leader willing to risk everything for a greater cause, and it ignited her own courage.
"Exactly.
Think of something that melds Grixth's robust flavors with our own. We could create a dish that even Vector can't mock." Vector scoffed, but the twinkle of curiosity in his eye betrayed him.
"And what do you suggest, human?"
Maria hesitated for a heartbeat. The stakes were impossibly high, but she couldn't back down now.
"What if we make Grixth sushi?
We could use your ingredients for the base and wrap them in our seaweed, adding spices that reflect both our worlds. The presentation can be symbolic, a bridge of cultures on a single plate."
Vector raised an eyebrow. "Sushi? A flaky, fragile dish? You think that a simple roll can encompass our legacy?"
"Not just any roll," Zektar interjected, his voice firm.
"This roll will be a symbol of collaboration.
It will show our strengths, our flavors, each ingredient a testament to what we can achieve together." A moment of silence enveloped the diner as the weight of Zektar's words sank in.
Maria could see the flickering recognition on several faces, both human and alien alike.
Perhaps it was the hope in Zektar's voice, or the glimmer of possibility that echoed in Maria's own heart, but something shifted in the air. "Very well," Vector said slowly, a hint of grudging respect in his tone.
"Demonstrate your proposition.
If your dish fails to impress, you will both bear the consequences.
But if it succeeds..."
He paused, allowing the implication of his words to hang, a challenge laced with suspicion.
Maria exchanged a glance with Zektar, their resolve solidifying. "Together, we will create something extraordinary," she replied, confidence flooding her voice.
As they began gathering ingredients, the atmosphere in the diner transformed.
The chatter that had been laced with tension now buzzed with excitement and curiosity.
Zektar swiftly moved to the kitchen, his movements fluid as he gathered the Grixth items, while Maria retrieved the sushi rice and seaweed from their supplies. They worked side by side, the clang of pans and the hum of the stove creating a rhythm that resonated with their shared purpose. Zektar sliced the Grixth with precision, each cut revealing a vibrant hue that contrasted beautifully with the white rice Maria prepared. They exchanged glances, nodding with each completed step, their synergy palpable.
"You know," Maria began,
her voice light amidst the seriousness of the task, "I never thought I'd be fusing human and alien cuisine.
This is incredible."
Zektar smiled, a genuine warmth blooming in his eyes.
"It is, isn't it?
I never imagined that the elements of our cultures could come together so seamlessly.
It feels like we are not just cooking, we are weaving a tapestry of our histories." As they assembled the sushi, layering flavors and textures, Maria felt a surge of hope.
She could already envision the outcome, a dish that would speak to both cultures, embodying their struggles and triumphs.
It was a leap of faith for both of them.
But just as they finished rolling the sushi and prepared to present it, Vector's faction shifted uncomfortably. Maria caught the eyes of several aliens who had observed their work with reluctant interest.
Perhaps their skepticism was beginning to wane.
"Prepare yourselves," Vector said, his voice cutting through the air.
"Let us see if your creation can indeed bridge the chasm between our peoples."
With the sushi carefully plated, Zektar and Maria stood side by side, their hearts pounding in unison. As they stepped forward, Maria felt the weight of every cautious gaze in the room upon them.
This was the moment that could change everything.
"Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed representatives of the Grixth Council," she declared, her voice rising with fervor. we present to you a dish that not only showcases our culinary skills but embodies the spirit of collaboration, a fusion of our worlds that we hope will inspire understanding and unity. The room fell into an expectant silence as Maria and Zektar placed the platter before the council. She could feel their eyes assessing, judging. This was the climax of their efforts. And in this moment, all the previous doubts and fears coalesced into a single thought. They were on the brink of something transformative, a potential turning point that could redefine their futures.
As the aliens leaned closer, intrigued, Maria's breath caught in her throat. Would they finally see the value of what they'd created together? Would this dish be enough to shatter the barriers of tradition? The answer hung in the air, fragile yet electric, waiting to be unveiled.
The fate of their collaboration rested in the balance, and as Zektar looked at her, determination coursed through them both. This was their moment, and they were ready to claim it. Maria and Zektar stood shoulder to shoulder, the tension between the two factions palpable as they prepared to showcase their culinary creation. The kitchen was alive with the sounds of sizzling ingredients and the rhythmic chopping of knives against cutting boards. The air was thick with the aroma of spices, a blend that both cultures would soon come to appreciate. As they assembled the Galactic sushi, Maria felt a sense of urgency. Each ingredient they chose was carefully selected not just for flavor, but for meaning. The vibrant green seaweed symbolized life, the glistening rice represented unity, and the Galactic ingredients conveyed the rich heritage of Zektar's people. She glanced at Zektar, who was meticulously arranging the layers with an artist's precision.
There was a newfound confidence in his demeanor, a spark ignited by their shared mission.
"Remember, we're not just cooking," Maria reminded him, her voice steady.
"We're telling our stories."
Zektar nodded, his eyes focused on the task at hand. "Yes, our stories. They need to see the beauty in our differences, the strength in our collaboration." As they worked, the crowd of humans and aliens watched with bated breath. Vector stood at the forefront, his arms crossed, a skeptical look etched on his face. But even he couldn't mask the flicker of curiosity that danced in his eyes.
The murmurs among the spectators grew louder, a mix of apprehension and anticipation.
Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Maria and Zektar plated their masterpiece. The vibrant sushi rolls sat elegantly on a large, handcrafted platter, each piece meticulously arranged. The colors were a feast for the eyes, rich greens, deep reds, and bright whites all harmonizing in a beautiful display. "Let's present it," Zektar said, his voice filled with resolve. They approached the center of the diner, where the crowd had formed a semicircle, the tension thickening the air. Maria took a deep breath, her heart racing as she faced both factions.
"Today, we offer you more than just food.
We're offering a chance for understanding, for unity. This dish, Galactic sushi, is a representation of our cultures coming together. Each flavor tells a story, our stories." She gestured to the sushi, her hands sweeping across the platter.
"As you taste this, think about the ingredients.
The seaweed represents the oceans of our worlds, the rice symbolizes our shared sustenance, and the Galactic components reflect the strength of Zektar's people. Together, they create something new." Vector stepped forward, his expression still unreadable. "And if it fails," he challenged, his tone sharp. Maria met his gaze, unwavering. "Then we will accept the consequences. But if it succeeds, we ask for your cooperation in building a bridge between our peoples." With a reluctant nod, Vector motioned for his faction to step forward. "Let's see what your primitive techniques can accomplish, human."
The moment had come.
Maria watched as the first alien tentatively picked up a piece of sushi, inspecting it with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. The diner fell into a hush, the only sound being the soft crunch of the sushi being bitten into.
A flicker of surprise crossed the alien's face, followed by a nod of approval. One by one, the others followed suit, sampling the dish with a mix of skepticism and curiosity.
Maria's heart raced as she awaited their reactions, each moment stretching into an eternity. Then, a voice broke the silence. "This is incredible," one of the aliens exclaimed, eyes widening in disbelief. "The flavors, they complement each other beautifully."
Another alien chimed in, "I never thought I would enjoy something so human."
"It's refreshing." Maria felt a wave of relief wash over her. The tension in the room began to dissipate, replaced by a cautious optimism. Zektar glanced at her, a smile breaking through his usual demeanor. "They're starting to understand," he whispered, his voice brimming with hope. Vector, however, remained silent, his expression contemplative. Maria could see the gears turning in his mind, and she prayed he would see the potential in their collaboration. As the tasting continued, more members of both factions joined in the conversation, sharing their thoughts on the dish and discussing their cultures.
Laughter began to fill the diner, and the once divided groups started to mingle.
Maria watched in awe as barriers fell, conversations sparked, and connections formed.
Finally, Vector cleared his throat, commanding attention.
"Perhaps we have underestimated your abilities," he began, his voice steady but softer than before.
This dish has opened our eyes to the possibility of collaboration. Zektar stepped forward, his voice unwavering.
We can achieve so much more together. We can learn from each other, respect our differences, and find common ground.
Vector nodded slowly, his expression shifting from skepticism to respect. I propose a formal alliance.
Let us work together, share our knowledge and resources, and create a future where both our cultures thrive. A wave of cheers erupted from the crowd, a mix of humans and aliens celebrating the unexpected turn of events. Maria felt tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by the unity blossoming before her. Zektar turned to her, his expression filled with gratitude and pride.
Together, we did this, he said, his voice thick with emotion.
As the celebration continued, Maria looked around the diner, witnessing friendships and connections forming in real time.
She realized that this was just the beginning.
The challenges they faced had forged a bond that would lead to a brighter future.
Let this be the first of many collaborations, Maria declared, raising her glass in a toast. To unity, understanding, and friendship.
The room erupted in cheers once more, and Maria felt a profound sense of hope.
They had not only held the line at closing time, they had opened a door to a new beginning, one that promised to bridge the gap between their worlds.
As the festivities continued, Maria and Zektar exchanged glances filled with unspoken understanding. They had become unlikely heroes, and together, they would pave the way for a future where their cultures could thrive side by side. The diner, once a simple place of solitude and late-night meals, had transformed into a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of compassion, creativity, and the simple act of sharing a meal.